Okay, now on to fiction. I have a few classics here, regular fiction, a couple sci-fi, children's books, 2 children's books. Okay, so first I'll start with classics. I guess I won't put them in order. So here's Crime and Punishment by Dostoyevsky. I do have a copy of this already by a different translator, so that's why I picked this one up. It was cheap. This particular translator is Garnett, which is a typical translator for Dostoyevsky, but I do have translator, what was it, Monet, I think? I do have another copy of Crime and Punishment. Nice, smaller one. Translated by Monas, M-O-N-A-S, and this was a good one. I've read this particular translator, so I just have another one now with a different translator. It's good. It's a good book. I liked it for the psychology, but the first 50 pages are hard to get through, so if you can get through that, he's sitting in a restaurant talking to some guy for 50 pages, and it sucks. But if you can get through that, and you can get through, if there's 2 characters in the book, there's like one's called Rashta, one's called Ramda, or something like that. If you can get past those 2 things, it's a very good book, and you will discover in such a book that it contains the most, the most horrible scene in all of literature, the most haunting, the most horrifying, to be in the room during a certain scene in this book. Anyways, it's a good one if you can get through it. Here's Charles Dickens' Bleak House. I've almost got all of Dickens' main stuff, so this is his Bleak House. I guess Charles Dickens kind of wrote about ordinary people, ordinary situations in, I guess, England. So he's not a writer of heroes. He's a writer of, not like Dostoyevsky writes about characters that go through moral conflicts and are heroes, are volitional heroes in their own right. Dickens is not so much about that, just more about almost a historian of using fiction to write history, using fictional history, writer of fictional history, just talks about ordinary stuff in England. Here's Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know how you pronounce it. Slaughterhouse-Five. I do have his Cat's Cradle, but I've been looking for this one, Slaughterhouse-Five, so now I have a copy of it. Supposed to be a good one. It says it's an anti-war book, and it centers on the infamous firebombing of Dresden. Dresden, that must be Germany. What would that be then? World War II? I don't know. All right, you'd be surprised how long it took me to find a copy of this, but I finally found one. Actually, at a charity book sale, not at the bookstores I used to go to. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. This is supposed to be Margaret Atwood's best, her longest, most famous, I guess. The one that's been famous the longest. She also has a tear one, now I can't think of it. Stone Tears or Angel's Tears or something like that. But anyways, this is supposed to be good, a classic that everyone's supposed to have, so now I have a copy of it and I'll read it someday. Margaret Atwood recently, though, she's really crazy. She's turned into a nut, but her classics are supposed to be good. Here's one more. This will be the oldest of the bunch. Robert Louis Stevenson's Kidnapped. You may know him from Treasure Island. That's the same author. Kidnapped. It's supposed to be a classic high adventure. I don't know if it's about pirates. Usually it's about pirates, but it says he's sold into slavery. And then he becomes an orphan and is a castaway. Lives on a shipwreck. There we go. I knew there was pirates involved. Okay, that's it for classics. Now, I have a couple historical fiction that are kind of interesting. Here's Dark Matter by Philip Kerr. It says here, The Private Life of Sir Isaac Newton. I thought that might be neat. I guess it is fiction, but is there a bibliography back here? I believe it is about Isaac Newton, and he writes a story of what maybe Isaac Newton may have done. So I thought that would be nice to have. So maybe if I'm studying that era of time, what was that, the Enlightenment, then I might, as a break maybe from the history, I could grab this book and just kind of relax a bit with Sir Isaac Newton, fictional book on his life. And certainly at the time. Okay, here's a book I never thought I would see, but I found it actually at its charity book sale. Patrick O'Brian, Master and Commander. These are supposed to be fantastic naval fiction, naval battles and stuff like that. There's a whole adventure series by Patrick O'Brian called Master and Commander. It's just Master and Commander and then colon something, right? Some subtitle. These are supposed to be really good, like I said, Navy adventures. And so I'm glad I found one. So that's that. And the last historical fiction, Irving Stone, The Origin. And it says here, the magnificent saga of Charles Darwin. So like the other one, the Newton one, this is supposed to be a fictional account of Charles Darwin and his voyage. So that's great. I'm glad to have that. I'm glad to have another take. Perhaps if history is facts and opinions sometimes, then you can get a writer, an author who will write on the same, who will take in the same information and then create a piece of literature from it. And I think that's a different perspective, and one that adds to the context, it adds to the historical times. If you're studying some era, to read a fictional account, but based on the era, I think is great. And also, like I said, it's usually easier to read fiction than nonfiction, and so you can take a break and yet still keep your mind focused on that era. Okay, so let's do the sci-fi. I've been looking for these for a while and finally found them. By the same author, Robert Heinlein, Starship Troopers. If I can get the camera to work, there we go. Starship Troopers. You may know the movie. Well, this is the same thing, I believe. Don't ask me, though, what the differences are between the movie and the book, because I haven't read it. But I'm glad I got that one. And this one, can you guess what's the other most famous Heinlein book? It is this one, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Heinlein. It says it's a Hugo Award-winning novel of libertarian revolution. I thought this book was that there's a Mars colony, and then the Mars colony has its own revolution from the Earth and kind of becomes its own nation or something. But that might not be right. I'll look at the back here and maybe it'll tell me. Okay, so it's actually, I don't know why I thought Mars, because it's the moon is a harsh mistress, it's about the moon. So it says here that a lunar, so that's the moon, penal colony, so it'll be like a prison camp. Interestingly, if I can insert, many of the colonists that moved to the New World during the early eras were actually prisoners, and they were used as slaves in the colonies and just dumped. Like if you committed a crime in England or France or wherever, they just sent you, depending on what you did, they just sent you to the New World to work. So at that time, you didn't know what you were getting into. It could have been like a hellhole over in the New World, right? So anyways, in this time, I guess some prisoners are sent to a lunar penal colony, and they have a revolution against the lunar authority that controls the colony, the penal colony, from the Earth. And it also mentions something about a supercomputer who has sentience and helps the revolution take place. So, yeah, it's supposed to be a good one. Okay, that's sci-fi. Now there's a couple regular random fiction, and then couple children's fiction. Here's a strange one. Well, here it is. Glenn Beck, The Overton Window, a thriller. Yes, it is Glenn Beck from, what is he on Fox News, I think, in the States? Yeah, that's Glenn Beck. It's got a Statue of Liberty on the front here. I didn't know he wrote fiction. It was only $1.50. I probably wouldn't have paid any more. And I thought, well, I guess I'll buy it for $1.50. That's reasonable. Some people call him a libertarian, but some of the things I've heard him say is not libertarian. So I don't know if, sometimes I wonder whether TV personalities, you may know Kevin O'Leary up in Canada. If you watch Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, you'll know. Shark Tank is the States version. You'll know who Kevin O'Leary is. Or this Glenn Beck guy. Sometimes I wonder whether they promote TV personalities that people are going to hate. And also that these same TV personalities promote a certain social vision or have a certain philosophical background or certain assumptions or whatever. Certain view of man in the state, let's say, that's probably the best way to put it. But they find the most hateful people to promote them, so that a common person who is unthinking will say, oh, I don't want to be that political leaning because then I'll be an evil person or no one will like me or something. It's like, oh. So, I don't know, Glenn Beck. I don't know about him. But I'll see what kind of fiction he can. I'm surprised there isn't a second author. Sometimes when you've got like a sort of half celebrity, like Trump, for example. Oh, I don't think I have I used to have Donald Trump's book in here. Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. He's got a second author who probably wrote most of it. Here's The Exorcist. I guess it was a book first, and then they made the movie out of it. I think that's the movie with the bee on the person's nose. I think that's called The Exorcist. Oh no, that's Sounds of the Lambs. I'm getting them mixed up. Anyways, this is a horror book, and I guess it says demonic possession. It was a book first, I guess, and yeah, by Blatty. How about the year? It was first printed, 71, I guess? Yeah, 71. So, now I got The Exorcist. It was only $1. Here's The Shining by Stephen King, another horror book. The Shining is the, I think it's the Here's Johnny one, right? With the axe and the door. By, what's that guy's name? I'm not going to think of the actor's name now, but I've seen a few movies with him, and he's a pretty good actor. He plays a good crazy guy. So anyways, here's The Shining by Stephen King. Stephen King has tons of horror books. What need I say about Stephen King? 73, I guess? Looks like 73. This was first written. Maybe 77. Let's say 77. Okay, and this one. Oh no, there's another one too. And then there's a couple children's. All Quiet on the Western Front. It says here, the greatest war novel of all time. Really? Is that true? The author is Eric Maria Remarque. Show it at the bottom there. Is it the greatest war novel of all time? I don't know. It says here, 29? 29. So if it's 29, then this can't be about World War II. But I don't even know if it says it's translated from the German, so it used to be a German book. It was first a German book. I don't even know if this is a historical fiction. It must, maybe not. It says here about World War I. Yeah, it says here it's some guy enlists with his classmates in the German army of World War I. So, it's fiction though, I guess. Maybe it's historical fiction. I guess I'll have to find out. And one more for the regular fiction. There's Geisha Memoirs. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. This book is supposed to be about women in, was it Korea? I'm not sure, but it's something about a girl's virginity is auctioned to the highest bidder, Women are trained to beguile the most powerful men. Love is scorned as illusion. You know, it's interesting. Actually, the 19th century, the 18th century as well in Europe was very much the same. Unless people really hated each other, people would marry for other reasons than love, like money or convenience or something like that. But when I talk about Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, I'll talk a little bit more about that, so I won't do that here. But there's some interesting parallels there about why two people will marry at certain eras of time. What are the interests involved? So, but this Geisha book, that it says now a major motion picture, they made a movie out of it, I guess. That just struck me as something that was popular, I guess. So now I've got a copy of it if I ever get to it. Okay, 2 kids' books. Here's The Giver by Lois Lowry. So it says on the back here, there is no war or fear or pain. There are no choices. Every person is assigned a role in the community, with a big capital C on the community there. And the giver is some person who gives people something. And this particular character named Jonas is going to receive the truth, and there's no turning back. I thought there was more to this, though. I thought there was something about only so many people. I don't know if it was giving birth. It doesn't sound like a children's topic. This is like a teen book. I thought it was something about only so many people could do something, and this guy like rebels or something, or something like that. Anyways. And the last one. No surprise there, Harry Potter. I found a nice hardcover. I used to own all 7, but then I sold them off for $50. And now I'm building them back again. I'm buying them cheap, of course. So I found a nice hardcover of The Order of the Phoenix, which is what? Is it book 5? Maybe book 4? I don't know. It is book... What did I say? Order of the Phoenix is book what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, book 5. Book 5, it's a nice condition, hardcover, couple bucks, $3. So I've got that. So now I think I have 3 and 5 of Harry Potter. So I'm looking to collect them again. Okay, that's it for fiction, and the last one will be politics.